Welcome to another episode of the Jobology podcast. I'm your host, Brandon, and before we get to our guest today, I want to remind you to subscribe on YouTube and to follow us at Jobology Podcast on all major social media platforms. Our guest is the Associate Creative Director for an ad agency. Her name is Jenny. She's going to talk to us about the tricks she uses when doing commercials and the opportunities for artists in the space. So without further ado, Jenny. Thank you for being with me today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So the first question I always like to ask to kind of get like a baseline figured out if maybe the job isn't as, common to people or they don't really know exactly what it is. I like to ask if we were to, meet at a party or something like that and I said, "Hey Jennifer, what do you do for work?" How would you answer that versus like what's your official job title?
Yeah, that answer is going to be a lot easier than my job title too. So I'm an associate creative director. I work in the advertising industry. So I've come up through the art direction side. So essentially, I make commercials and I help decide on what those visuals look like. So everything from the set to the props to the look and feel. I work closely with copywriters and production crews to create commercials.
Oh, that's cool. That seems like there could be a lot of different moving parts with that. So hopefully we can kind of get into that. But my first, not first, I just said that. My next question would be, why? Like, why do you get into that? Is it something you've always been interested in? Did you go to school for it? Like, or just kind of how did you fall into that job?
So I've always been very interested in design and photography and visuals. So I started by studying graphic design and have been a graphic designer for quite a long time. And I've worked in marketing agencies and on marketing teams for in-house companies and have gotten my hands in slowly through that direction. So starting with building out the ads, print ads, websites, logos, all of that kind of stuff. And then slowly that helped transform into the photography side where I've helped style photo shoots. And that just grew into more of set building and set design and being hands-on and going from graphic designer to art direction all the way up to ACD.
That's cool. Is there like something that we would know if we like, is there like a commercial out there right now that you could point to be like, oh yeah, that's my work, that's what I do?
Yeah, so right now my company, I work for a company called Raindrop. We're local to San Diego, and we really focus on digital ads. So those are going to be ones that you get on YouTube, that you get on Instagram, on
Oh, okay.
TikTok, all that kind of stuff. So a couple of big ones that we've been working with recently is we work directly with Dr. Squatch and Native are some that you might have seen.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I would have to like go back through my, YouTube algorithm and see if those have come across, but Native sounds familiar. Dr.
Yeah.
Squatch sounds familiar too.
Yeah, so it's a lot of the ones that we do a wide variety of long form videos, so up to like 3 minutes long for an ad to like your 15-second spots that you get on Instagram.
Okay, cool. So are you like actually, drawing like storyboarding things out, or are you like
I occasionally do,
okay.
but I also build out set renders and put together mood boards and present to clients and all of that kind of stuff. So we do occasionally do art boards and like actual storyboards and that kind of stuff. But for commercials, it's not as common as like for a movie.
Gotcha. And I'm assuming art something always you've always been interested in, like since
Yeah,
kid, like drawing and
I've always been super creative with all sorts of different expressions of that, on the side just for fun. I like to do watercolors and
oh nice.
drawing and hands-on. I have like some build experience, which has helped a lot with the set design and being able to use tools and put things together. And just all sorts of being able to use that creative outlet from photography to graphic design uh, through this holistic, big picture creative lens.
That's awesome. So when you're like, you had mentioned you went to school for it, is that like something you have to present like a portfolio for? And you're like, hey, here's all my work. And they're like, cool, we'll accept you into the school. Or is it like once you get there, you figure out, oh, this is what I want to do. And like, these are the courses I want to take.
Yeah, it depends. If you're going to art school specifically, you do need a portfolio, um, which they're pretty flexible because you're going to be really putting together the portfolio that matters while you're at school. And that's what you're going to be presenting to get a job. Most
Mm,
companies in the creative industry don't really care where you went to school. They don't really care about your resume that much at all. It's all your portfolio and what they can see. So that is a huge, huge element to getting into the industry and presenting your work in a very clear and uh, being able to show it off. So you don't technically need a degree or anything like that to get into this industry. Um,
gotcha.
it's a great way to learn and a great way to get networking and exposure. But it's really putting together that portfolio that is going to be the most important thing.
Gotcha. And then, we kind of discussed the why behind it, but like the how, is it something where you just like were searching online and found, this raindrop company and you were like, hey, I'll put my resume out there? Or is it like, did you know somebody and they were like, you do great at this, here you go? Like, how do you like actually get the job?
Yeah. So when I started with Raindrop, we're a marketing company and have really more leaned into the production side more recently. So I've had the opportunity to grow with them. So I started as a graphic designer there, working on things like menus, emails, designing websites, that kind of thing. And as our services grew, where we started offering more photography and video services, I was able to have a close hand in helping what that turned into.
Nice. Would it typically be like a company reaches out to you guys and goes like, hey, I need help, we're trying to do a commercial, or do you guys reach out to them and go, hey, we think we'd be great here, we could do this for you? Or is it like a combination of both?
It's kind of a combination of both. I'm not super involved in that end of
Okay,
it, but we do have like a sales team that,
gotcha.
you know, whether it's they come to us or we reach out to them, kind of facilitates that.
They like procure the projects.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Which I think as a creative is one of the really big benefits to working at an agency, is where you get all of these different minds. There's a lot of people who do art direction or photography or design who work on a freelance kind of structure, which is a huge opportunity to do lots of different type of work. But one of my favorite things about being at an agency is getting to do the creative all day, and having an amazing team who helps manage accounts, who helps write copy, who does all of that kind of stuff, and really getting to do creative work every single day.
Yeah, like frees you up to do what you do best.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, seems like that would be a good, partnership to have, or a good company to work for. I'm gonna kind of move into, what's an average day look like. It's not the easiest question to answer for some people, because a lot of people go, hey, every day's different, or there's, depending upon if I'm working on a project or if I'm not, it could be different. But if you had to kind of take an average day, like what time do you have to get into an office if you're working in an office, or if you're working from home, what does that look like? Are you doing emails? Do you get to just get straight to drawing or graphic designing or painting or whatever it might be that day? What does kind of an average day look like for you?
Like you said, I really do something different every single day, and every single project is so incredibly unique, where we could really be, you know, last week we built a cave in our studio.
Oh, wow.
This
Okay.
week we're like, it's really very unique. So my personal day today will be a mix of quite a few Zoom calls, working with our other creative teams, talking through crazy ideas. We have some hilarious team members who were just coming up with ideas for ads,
Like shooting for the stars.
shooting
Go
for the
for it.
stars,
Like
getting
it.
wild. Um,
Nice.
and then part of the day is kind of filtering that into tangible ideas and presentations and decks, and creating mood boards where we kind of take our ideas and bring them into a reality and a way that we can present them to the client. And then a whole another aspect of my day is that I could be in studio helping build a set, rearrange furniture during a shoot, or styling product for like the actual photography or shoot day.
Yeah, I actually have
Very,
some
very
questions on that.
hands-on.
Yeah. So I mean, we can get to it now because, I try and fit it in where it fits. So something that I've seen maybe on like TikTok or on different, like YouTube stuff is like when people are like doing the behind the scenes, like if it's like a food thing, it's not the actual food. Like,
Yeah,
or it's like, like the tricks of the is there like a trick of the trade or something like that you're like,
there are so many.
okay.
So I have an entire kit. I have an entire styling kit. So it kind of varies. There's quite a few food style hacks that
Mm-hmm.
you've probably seen that are really cool where,
Yeah, like spray a
um,
water bottle on something to make it look
oh
like
yeah,
steam or like that it's, okay.
there's all of that kind of stuff. And
Nice.
I work with dry ice pretty regularly.
Okay.
Um, I I personally, we've had a lot of restaurant clients, and so when we're actually advertising food, we don't try to, we do always stick with the real food that we're advertising. Like if it's a restaurant, we're never going to show you fake food to try to get you into the restaurant. We're
Okay.
making sure that it's the real food that you would get. It's going to be the best presentation,
Yeah, just dressed up a bit.
but if it's
Okay.
an ad for, you know, something else and you just
Sure.
need to have food in the shot, then you can mix food coloring in there. You
Okay.
can bring in steam. You can do all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of times where, like, if we're shooting in a kitchen, we'll drop some um, dry ice or something in the pot. The stove's not actually on. You're not actually.
Gotcha.
We'll add some lighting behind it to make it look like it's sparking, or
Okay.
adding sizzle noises in the background, and stuff like that.
That seems cool. Like that seems like I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. This is basically what the podcast is about, is correcting me when I'm wrong, because I'm wrong most of the time. But that seems like it could almost activate a different creative side of your brain. So like the creative, drawing, painting, like that seems, most people know that. But then when you're like, okay, how do I get the, wine to look a certain like deep red that the character or the person's holding in the shot, like, okay, we could try this, we could try that, like but that's a different creative almost than the drawing or painting aspect of it.
I would say that probably half of my job is the creative of telling the brand story, telling the message that we want to get across. And the other half is completely creative problem solving. So, okay, that's great. This is what we want to do. Now, how do we do it?
Yeah, how do we execute? Okay, that seems really fun actually. I mean, I have little to no art skill, creative. I mean, this is as creative as it gets for me. I mean, talking to people, coming up with questions, that's about my limitation on that. But the like actual physical drawing, can't do it worth a lick. Painting, have never tried, don't feel like it's going to work. So that does seem like something though where I could be like, oh, I could kind of figure that out. Like, oh, let's see, we need to either lift this to do that, or we need to, okay, that sounds pretty fun.
And my favorite tool that I use on most sets is there is going to be fishing wire somewhere. You're not going to be able to see it on camera, but there's fishing wire holding something in place.
Yeah. Okay. See, though, that's what I was really interested in. Is like, what's that like trick that we don't see, or we're not going to know it's there, but like, and then my other question that kind of goes along with that is, can you pick that stuff out in commercials that you haven't done?
Absolutely. Stuff I've been seeing recently, especially, is there's been a couple TV shows where I can see the fake ice that they've been using in their drinks, and stuff like that, where it really sticks out. You would never notice it unless, like, you're looking for that kind of stuff, but just little things like that. I definitely look at commercials differently. I look at menus when I go to restaurants differently.
Oh man, don't ruin anything for me.
It doesn't ruin it. It's just like,
Okay,
oh, I
good.
would have maybe done something different, or like,
Okay.
this is actually a great menu. This is,
Yeah. Something you could take for your own, see it and be like, I could use that. I'm gonna try that out tomorrow.
there's a whole design strategy to, like, where certain items are placed on menus and that kind of stuff, which is fascinating.
Yeah. That's so I've worked at a restaurant I've looked at menus, but I don't. I mean, that the like psychology behind it, I have no idea
Yeah.
on. So that is interesting that you're like, well, no, I mean, there's definitely, you want to put a plate of pasta next to the pasta dishes. You want to put a pizza next to the, pizza options. Okay, getting it. I'm figuring it out a little by little. How long is a typical day for you? Like, are you working an 8 hour shift? Are you like, hey, I'm there until the shoot's done? Or, some days take 12 hours, some days I'm done at 4.
On a shoot day, you're pretty much there until the shoot is wrapped. If I'm on set for the shoot, it could be a 10-hour day is pretty standard. But that's not an everyday type of
Sure.
situation. It's just, you've been prepping for weeks for a shoot. Shoot day is standard 10 days or 10 hours. And other than that, it can kind of mix. My company does a great job at really keeping us to that 9 to 5 kind of expectation. There's other than shoot days, it's not really gonna bleed over too much in the evening or anything like that. Everything's, we're working with other companies. Everything's pretty much normal business hours.
Gotcha.
But shoot days, especially, they can be long, but they can be really, really rewarding.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I mean, and then especially like once you see the camera, I'm sure you're like, oh, I get to see my
Yeah.
work like out there. That's got to be somewhat
Yeah.
exciting. I get that. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Work-life balance. Is there like when you're done for the day, let's say on a, shoot day, or when you're done and you're like, okay, I've already been there for 10 hours, I'm going home. You get home. Is it pretty much like, phones off, I don't have to worry about work, or is it like they could call you, text you, and be like, hey, actually, we had another issue, or we're trying to finish up, and there's this, what does work life balance look like?
Yeah, as for my specific role, I'm not on every single shoot that's going on, but we could at any given week have 3 or 4 shoots
Wow.
happening throughout the week. So I do try to make sure that if there's somebody on set, maybe they're going a little bit over in hours, that I'm able to respond to them if they need something. That's very rare. So for the most part, it's, on the weekend, not having to work, all that kind of stuff, pretty standard business hours. That being said, if you're a creative and your part of your job is coming up with ideas based on, human nature and insight on people and, trying to figure out stuff about how people work and how you're going to be able to sell stuff to them. You're kind of always got those gears turning. So
Right.
you never really know when something's going to spark an idea. So we could be out at dinner or something, and I'll, take note in my mind of something that I see that might be a good idea for the future, but not actively working, just kind of always having your mind turned on, looking for inspiration.
Yeah, I think that's also, I mean, maybe again, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that is like something that created, it's like natural to you. It's not a like, I'm not consciously being like, oh, I got to keep always looking for, but it's just how I operate. You know what I mean? Like, that's
Yeah.
just how I go about my day. Yeah, as if I notice something or,
There's so much of what we do that like we really do need to kind of know what's going on in pop culture, and like even if we're just like browsing the internet and that kind of stuff, like that could count as work of just making sure that we're informed on what's going on and what the latest trends are in design, and just making sure that all of those kind of things they're a part of the job, but they're not actual work.
gotcha. Okay. So yeah, it's like, I gotcha. I understand what you're saying. Is there a like I'm assuming you get like regular benefits, health, dental, medical, all that stuff. And then something I always like to ask about or I'm curious about is like so you have your perks and benefits, but then like a hidden perk. So something that I've talked with people about before is like, if you're working out of school, let's say, and part of your job is, oh, I got to go bounce from class to class. It's like, oh, well, a perk of that job that maybe other people don't have is like getting out and being about and walking
Mhm.
around and not being tied to a desk. Is there like a perk that maybe we don't see or that you could think of that you're like, oh, this is something I really enjoy about my
Yeah.
job?
Similar to the example you just gave, I'm not sitting behind a computer all day. I'm working on set. I'm painting. I'm moving stuff around. So I definitely get my steps in most days,
Nice.
and rearranging all sorts of stuff. I don't know if
Yeah.
most people would call this a perk, but I really enjoy making custom props and really just kind of getting to be creative in that sense, where it's like you're crafting with your friends during the middle of the workday.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, that is pretty awesome. I mean, can kind of get that vibe from like editing because you can kind of like choose the shots you want or pick the, different cameras that you want. But yeah, I get the like I'm not tied to, a desk, to a phone, to a, whatever. And so yeah, the creativity side of it does seem like that's something that would fit as well.
Yeah, and you're just surrounded by other creative people too, and it's just really fun. You laugh a lot. You laugh a lot throughout your day.
Yeah. Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, laughter can make the day go by a lot faster, I've found. That's something I found with this too, is, if we're going about it and laughing back and forth and learn a bunch of stuff, and then I look down and I check the time, I'm like, wow, shoot, we've been going for, 20 minutes already. That's insane, or whatever it is. So yeah, I get that. Like, it makes the day go by faster. It doesn't feel so like monotonous and just doing the same thing over and over and over. Um, so you're the associate creative director. What does the job hierarchy look like? Like, do you have a person ahead of you? Do you have a team under you? Are you kind of floating out on your own? Like, what does your job hierarchy look like?
Yeah, so in a typical advertising agency, you're going to have a creative director who is really the point person on everything creative. So that usually involves mostly copy and art direction. So I am associate creative director under the creative director on the art direction side. So I have partners who are on the copywriting side who I get to work with regularly as a team. And then under me would be, hierarchy wise, would be art director and graphic designers and that kind of stuff.
Oh,
So
okay.
my process of moving up is started as a graphic designer, moving into that art direction role, and then moving into the ACD role above that.
If you had maybe someone, under, a partner, or you got to hire somebody to work with you or something like that, do you have any advice, or maybe somebody that's being a associative or an associate creative director for a completely different agency, do you have any advice for them starting out, like something that either you found to be the case, or just something that maybe they're not expecting, like a new advice for a new employee?
Yeah, I would just say to get on set and hands-on as much as possible. It's really easy to sit behind the computer and put together ideas, but knowing the team who's going to be executing it, knowing the team who's going to be executing it is just as important as knowing your client and making sure that you're really that middle ground of telling these people are going to be telling this person's story, and you're going to be the one who makes sure that that all aligns. And so just making sure that you are really understanding the needs of the client as much as you are of your own team.
If you had to maybe put a percentage on it, I'm trying to figure out the best way to ask this. What is like let's say I'm the client, for example. I'm like, hey, Jobology, we're going to do a commercial and I want it like this. And then you're like, well, that, wouldn't necessarily work, or there's better ways to, like, what percentage is like, of a commercial maybe is like your direction versus their requests or requirements?
Yeah, so we'll usually, it varies
Okay.
pretty big. Sometimes clients do come in and they're like, here's what we need this video for. Um, and they might have a good idea that they want to run with, which we can help them with. But for most cases, we talk strategy with them at the beginning about, what their goals are and
Okay.
the process of us helping them get to it. So
Gotcha.
throughout the creative process, we have a whole concepting phase where we put together, based off what their needs are, based off the brief, a whole bunch of different ideas that we think would work for them for different reasons. All kind of cover what they need to be covered, but just in different ways of storytelling.
Okay.
And so we present those to them, and they're able to give feedback and help narrow it down and help pick which concept they want to run with. And then from there, we take the big idea and turn it into the reality. So there's definitely, the client is always involved in the process. They get to have final approval. It's their ad. It's going to be representing their company. We always want to make sure it's something that they're going to be happy with and really reflects them. But I will say, when a client does give you a lot of creative freedom, the end product usually is a lot stronger.
Okay. That's good to know. So one of my questions, that I was gonna is like, if I'm a client, how can I be better to the creative director, the associate creative director? Like, what can I do? And so you kind of answered that already with the, give me the freedom to like,
I think
I've done this a
it's
lot.
trust. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
we're always going to provide you something that we think is going to work, and just based off our experience is going to resonate well with the audience. Obviously the client knows their audience best, but
Sure.
we're always going to be presenting you something strategic and meaningful, and that we think is going to be really impactful. And just having that trust and knowing that our creative team are experts in their fields, and it makes for a really good relationship.
Yeah. And I mean, part of it is knowing like, hey, this is going to translate better, it might look or sound great in your head,
Yeah.
but it doesn't translate to actual video or
Yeah.
actually producing this content. Okay, I get that. So definitely a mutual partnership, but the oops, just knocked the computer over there. Definitely a mutual partnership, but the client does. I was going to also ask who has final say if you get to a spot where there's just a button heads, like who has the final cut on that. But
It's always going to be the client. Like,
mhm, they're
it's
the ones
good. Like
paying.
I said, it's their ad. We want them to be happy with it.
Sure.
That being said, when a client asks for something that is, a Hollywood level production, we have to say no and put limits on certain type of things.
Yeah, I want explosions. I want
Yeah, yeah.
stuntmen. I want people
We
jumping out
can't
the
bring in a
building.
helicopter today, but
Oh, I want to flip a car
yeah.
over. Okay, got it.
So there's limitations where we can say no, but
Okay, gotcha. That makes
uh,
sense. Okay.
but for the most part, it's, we're going to give our professional recommendations no matter what, and make sure that where we stand on things. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it is the client's final decision.
Yeah, it's also like, though, I'm hiring you guys, so I should probably trust you guys. Like, you're trusting me. Let me do my job. That kind of thing, without being that abrasive, probably. But hey, sometimes that's what people need to hear. Um, is there anything, that if you could maybe go back to when you first started, that you would have told yourself, knowing your own personal path? Not necessarily a more general piece of advice for anybody, but a specific piece of advice for you on your path.
Yeah, I think it would just be really to stay open-minded. Um, I always knew that I wanted to do graphic design and I wanted to be in the advertising industry. I thought it sounded fun. And just knowing that that path can be different than the typical linear, like straight from college to an agency. And I spent some time working in-house on marketing teams, and I'm very thankful for the exposure and understanding of how that business side works, and just really embracing that every opportunity is a learning opportunity, and you never really know how it's going to impact you down the line. And just
Yeah.
really taking every chance to learn. Even if it's not necessarily what you want to do forever, it's a good chance to develop different skills.
Gotcha. Gonna move now into the later-ish side of the podcast. We're kind of breezing through this. It's awesome. I mean, I'm learning more than I've probably learned on a lot of podcasts, because this is something that I did not know much about. So when you're, drawing, like, do you do you practice drawing? Is that, I don't even know if that's something you can do.
I do, yeah.
Okay,
It's mostly for fun. I do a lot
sure.
of art and design kind of stuff just for my own personal creativity.
Hmm.
Um, I don't necessarily practice it in the sense of like,
Maybe like I like so if you guys didn't watch last episode was Tyler, and professional golfer. So is it's not necessarily the same like practicing golf, like you know what I mean, like going out
yeah,
maybe
no, it's
fixing your
not,
swing. It's like a different kind of practice, right?
yeah, it's just um any kind of creativity that you can practice. That might be drawing, that might be painting, that might be messing around on some designs or photoshopping photos, any of that kind of stuff really.
Yeah, it's not like though like I got to hold the paintbrush in a different way than I, you know what I mean, or
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
exactly.
Okay, got it.
There is no correct way, no final way to perfect your art. It's really just practice and exposure and trying different things. Um, the more type of things you try, the more specialized your style becomes your own.
Is there a person, place, thing that you would say you draw the most inspiration from?
Definitely nature.
Okay.
I really, from my on my art side, when it comes to my design style, it's very organic feeling, very earthy kind of colors. It's not, anything psychedelic or um, it's pretty modern and natural feeling, in my personal opinion.
Like, is there like a specific location, maybe? Like, if you're like, hey, I want to go to the beach, or I need to go to the mountains, or I need to go to the desert, like, is there somewhere that you would be like, oh, this is where I feel a little bit more inspiration from?
Yeah, I would definitely say the mountains are my personal favorite place. So, I get to feel creative and I go hiking a decent amount and just that fresh air.
Yeah.
You get a lot more creativity being out in the world than sitting behind the computer.
That's yeah. So even with this job, that's something that I find too is like going out and actually meeting people and talking and then being like, oh, that's an interesting job. Would you like to be on a podcast? Stuff like that, as opposed to just sitting here and like trying to like you know f- uh search through different jobs on the internet and then find somebody and then reach out. It's a little more impersonal than the actual like go meet somebody, go talk to people, and that also helps just the communication side of it. So I could imagine like yeah, I go out, I see things, I'm like, oh, that might be, how would I draw that? How would I, incorporate that or something like that?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Um, is there a tip or a trick that you have for somebody like me? I always like to use myself as the example that can't draw worth a lick. So if you're like, hey, you know, don't push on the paper so hard, or don't, I don't know, something like that, like where you could give me like a little, you know, drawing tip to make it so that when I play Pictionary, people can actually guess what I'm drawing.
Yeah, I think my advice would really be more geared toward like figuring out what your style is, like what your
Okay.
design style is. And that would be to just really embrace the things that you genuinely really like, things that you see, pieces that you would put together, whether it's, logos or colors or um, whatever it is not just kind of basing things off trends or basing
Sure.
things off of like other things that you see, but, you know,
I
making
mean,
sure
it's
that
really
things
bad.
that
Like it's really bad. Like I couldn't draw, like the my horses look like blocks, and it's like, why are you drawing a square? It's yeah, it's terrible. But hey, I guess practice too. I could probably practice more, but
it's definitely practice because um it's something you gotta love. If you don't enjoy doing it, you're not gonna want to practice it.
that's
Um,
true.
but for me, drawing is very soothing and therapeutic and a way to kind of be more meditative. Uh,
Okay.
so if that's not something for you, it's not for
Hmm.
everyone. But like you said, there's tons of different ways to get creative and use those kind of creativity muscles without having to actually pick up a pen and paper and draw.
Gotcha. Is it something that comes naturally to you, where like you've always been good at drawing? Or is it something where like you feel like you've, honed your skills over the years?
I honestly wouldn't say it. I'm actually a great drawer.
Really? I was
Yeah.
looking at some of your stuff because I did like pre a little pre-research, and I did look at some of your like different pages with your, and I'm like, oh geez, this lady is really good.
Yeah, I think it's it's figuring out your style because Like if I had to draw something like a very realistic drawing, like I can't draw a person very well. Like I can't draw
Okay.
like a realistic like replication of something, but
Okay.
knowing like understanding the shapes and the practice of um like kind of how lines work together. So my personal art style, I do a lot of kind of fine line art and abstract kind of work. So it's really not like I wouldn't say that I'm a great drawer in the sense of like I can't just draw anything. Like if somebody was like, draw me, it's not
Yeah,
gonna
draw a
be
picture of
very
me.
good.
Okay, gotcha.
But like the abstract and creative expression is there.
Gotcha. With graphic design, is that mostly on a computer? Is that like
Yeah. So a lot of it does start in the sketchbook. So playing with different letter forms. I personally really love logo design and brand identity. So helping a brand take their story, their message, their personality, and really creating that visual. So the logos, the colors, how the patterns are going to work together, all that kind of stuff. And it usually starts with the logo. So you're taking the different letter forms of the name, trying lots of different stuff before you bring it into the computer. But after that, it usually is mostly computer driven.
okay? And then I'm assuming that's something that is always not necessarily just natural to you. Like you've got to learn how to
Yeah.
use the programs and okay.
The big programs are the Adobe Creative Suite. So Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, After Effects, all of those kind of things are very much more technical tools, but there are very free tutorials online that you could really learn anything you wanted to from those. So it's not like you need a specific training, but you do need practice and learning the shortcuts and knowing how to use the basics.
Yeah, I mean, I used to do like Microsoft Paint. Like that was about where my limited. That's where I ended my graphic design career. When I couldn't even like get a circle to go. But yeah, I mean that you is it harder? I'm assuming it's harder to draw on a computer than it is in a notebook, or is it just a different skill set?
It's different. So you can use, there's a lot of different tools that you can use, whether it's some form of tablet with a pencil or,
Okay,
using vector kind of shapes and curating things on your own,
nice.
taking different fonts and that kind of stuff. You're not having to create everything from scratch, which is a nice element to it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't messed with that stuff in years, and so they could understand probably technologies lapsed what I've been able to use. So that makes sense of like, oh yeah, I forgot like a tablet, and like pencil, and kind of do that route. Um, is there anything? So one of the questions that I like to ask to make myself better and try and get better at this is there anything that you thought I was going to ask or that you were hoping I would ask or that you feel like the viewer should know about your job that I didn't ask?
You covered pretty much everything I thought you were going to ask.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, no, you did. Yeah, you covered it all. Um, I think one of the big things just about this job in general is that there really, like I was saying, there really isn't a right or a wrong to it. There's just
Mhm.
so many different lanes of this creativity that you get to tap into. And knowing that it's not just limited to, you're not stuck in kind of one box. You're getting to be exposed to all sorts of different creative mediums and creative storytelling.
That's awesome. The last bit of the podcast that I like to do is I like to give my guest some time to either promote themselves, promote something else, promote a small business, charity, cause, or just, if there's a message you want to put out there, it's all whatever you want to do. Here's your time.
Yeah, well, so I'll do a little self promotion. So the company I work for is fantastic, but I also on the side do logo design work and brand identity work for small businesses. I specifically really like working with sustainable companies or companies that are service based. So not as much like product geared. I do a lot of product work at work, but personally, I like to do a lot of that kind of sustainability and help tell those stories. And then an additional thing, it's not any specific nonprofit or anything like that, but I always like to encourage younger people who are interested in the arts to know that there are jobs out there that are not just being an artist, and that you can do art every single day and not, have to be a painter or something like that.
Sure.
And just knowing that there's options like that, and really encouraging people to support the arts in school so that those kind of people have a chance to be exposed to the arts and creativity.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, is there somewhere that if we were looking to reach out to you or see some of your work that we could go, that you could point to, that we could go check out?
Yeah, I have a website. My portfolio is jennyhuffman.com. You can find me there, or you can find me on Instagram at JH Designs.
Awesome. Yeah. And if you guys are listening and not at a place right now where you can write that down, check out the YouTube video. We'll put all the links in the description so you can find Jenny there. And I think maybe once this podcast starts bringing in some cash flow, maybe I'll reach out and we can talk about, redesigning the Jobology logo or
Yeah, I'd
figuring
love that.
out what we got to do with that. Okay, that would be awesome. I'm like sitting here, I'm like, I think I could use this help. Now that you're like, small business, like that's me. Fit changing up logos. I'm like, I could probably use something like that. So that would be awesome. But like I said, I just want to say thank you again for being on. I think all the information you provided was awesome, and that, really useful for a lot of people. Support the arts. That's huge with me too. I mean, on this side of things, I mean, I consider what I do somewhat of an art. So, support people that are trying to, do things other than your typical just everyday average, whatever. But yeah, that's awesome. So thank you for being a guest today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. This was a great time.
Thanks for checking out another episode of Jobology, and thank you, Jenny, for sharing your insights on your creative process. Before I let you guys go, a couple quick reminders. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow at Jobology Podcast on all major social media, and make sure you're commenting what jobs you'd like to see next. Like we say to end every episode, make good choices.